Today, we have some very special guests I'm very excited to introduce you to. Welcome to Smart Women Leading in Cannabis. I am your host, Kira Reed. Our guests today are Jennifer Colliker and Ann O'Neill, co-founders of the event production company, Cannoccasions. Welcome, ladies.
Hello.
Hello, hello. It's so wonderful to have you here with us today. So why don't we start with a little, sorry, what's that, Ann?
It's very nice to be here.
So let's start with a little background, ladies. Tell us what your background was, how you came to work in events, and how you came to work in the cannabis industry.
So I have been doing events probably longer than I even knew it was a job. The companies that I work for, I started my work life as an accountant. And in my accounting department, I was the one to put together all of the fundraising events and everything else that happened in a big company. And so when I got a chance to kind of reinvent my life, I found out that they had an event management program at MSU Denver. And I went and enrolled and I got a bachelor's degree in event planning. Because it was all the parts that I really liked. So I graduated from MSU. I had a job with an event planning company, and then the opportunity came up that I could start my own company. And we do association management, so we do manage nonprofits, and then manage associations, and typically specialize in the smaller mid to range company or associations who couldn't afford their own staff. We kind of provide some economies of scale. And of course, with every association, events it's everything. It's how they make their money. It's everything. And so, I got hired by companies because they always made money because I was so good with the budgets and the finances. And so, but it spoke to every part that I wanted to do. So I've had OES Management, which is an event planning association management company, for about 9 years. And during that time, Jennifer, who came to me highly recommended, I tell people we met in the hospital. But Jennifer is my oldest child, and she was able to do flexible hours. She has children. She has, her own interests, and she has her own company and her own business. But she was able to come in and help me when I needed it. Then a few years ago, about 3 years ago, we were talking about broadening our horizons and things we wanted to do, ways to expand. So I was affiliate faculty at Metropolitan State University of Denver in the events planning department. And every year, as part of special event production, my students wanted to put on some kind of a cannabis event, some kind of a weed wedding, or they wanted to do something. So I always found myself trying to stay 5 minutes ahead of them by finding out what the rules and the regulations were so I could grade their papers. And when I was talking to Jennifer, I said, this is the part I have a problem with, is that, I want to get involved in this, but the rules change so much, you almost need a full-time person. My full-time person. Jen knew the regulations. She knew the people who were writing the regulations. And it was funny that this kind of went from, I'm going to create a lecture on doing a cannabis event. And it's going to be, and then I'm going to do a PowerPoint presentation on how to do a cannabis event. I'm going to write a book on how to do a cannabis event. I'm going to create a class on how to do a cannabis event. And Jen said, why don't we start a cannabis event planning company?
Why are you telling other people how to do it?
This conversation was 3 minutes long.
Wow.
You talk really fast.
But it evolved that quickly when we figured out how we wanted to do this. And so we felt like I am old school. I am an accountant at heart. I keep very good track of the books. I'm very careful about these types of things. And I don't have my hand on the pulse of the cannabis rules and regulations, or at least I didn't at that time. So Jennifer brought that into the equation. Another woman who works with us, Susan, is a graphic designer, and she brought that piece into it. So between the three of us, Cannoccasions is very much a full collaboration between the three of us. So now you're up to speed, you're up to date.
All right, Jennifer, tell us a little bit about your background.
Well, I've known Anne forever. And
you met in the hospital.
We sure did. Actually, she was my first employer as well. So I worked when she was an accountant for a petroleum company. I worked under her desk on the weekends. And I have never known my mother to not work. Even when she took time off to go to school, she worked. And sometimes she worked 2 jobs. And it never occurred to me that I would be a stay-at-home mom. And I actually went into a field that was very male dominated. I was an executive chef by 27. And when they found out I was pregnant, they were super excited. And about 3 months in, when we found out it was twins, I got a severance check. And the sting of that was awful, but it also kind of led me to this like insightful, what do I really want? Like, why did I want these kids? I wanted to be home with them. And through the next couple of births, I've got 4 now, I was working with Anne, just trying to help her with the event side for her associations, giving BEOs, that kind of thing. And when we started expanding, once I realized, you know, my kids are older, they're all in school, mostly we're getting ready for school. And we met Susan, we were working on a different project, and when I tried to bring up cannabis at first, I thought I need to smooth this conversation. You know, as women, when we have something big or some great idea, we try to figure out how we can squish it into what other people can understand. And so we're sitting down, we're having pancakes. Pancakes always smooth a conversation over with her. And I bring it up, and it was like electricity in the air. All of a sudden, like all these things that she'd been going through, all the conversations that she'd been having with people about cannabis events started crackling. And Susan's incredible. She's a great designer, not just graphic design, but also like design of events. And for her, when I gave her these limitations, like we have to have this sort of situation and people have to be checked in. And when I gave her all the limitations, she just started coming alive with all these great ideas. Anne reins us back in and is like, cool, there's no insurance for that. So we started focusing on medical events and trying to really, you know, not replace MJ for MDs, but really kind of give a lower level to like a more accessible local way. And after our first event, we realized this is exactly where we want to be. We are professional. We are organized in a way that this cannabis industry isn't. We've got clients who tell us the industry is still pretty young and naive and needs a lot of our expertise, not ours, but women who have been in other industries. All that expertise coming in. I am seeing incredible marketing executives coming in, like yourself. I'm seeing all sorts of really graphic designers, artists, everybody who's coming in that are women are really bringing in these incredible talents and professionalism. And so when we started expanding Cannoccasions further, I was like, we need to find this organization we can really connect to. And we've had a couple of hits and misses, but Women Empowered in Cannabis has been one of those really great connections that we've made, because every woman that I've come into contact with has the same drive and focus, like bringing this professionalism and this community into an industry that it's still in its infancy. So we have the opportunity to gain a foothold in a way that we can't in a lot of other places.
We do. So will you tell us about some of the events that you have produced? Because you don't just do meetups, you don't just do conferences, you produce a lot of really interesting different types of events.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. Well, in the outside of cannabis, we do a lot of different things, association stuff, things with children, and so we keep a demarcation there. So the things that we do in cannabis, we started with Elevated Wellness, which was a one-day conference for medical professionals to get insight and education from like real people who understood what they were talking about, and that was in 2019. And I really wanted to bring in some professional speakers from Tel Aviv, and our budget as our first event that we produced in cannabis was not that high, and I could not really give value to bringing those people in, and I wanted to bring in this video aspect. So I started searching and I found this platform that I really loved, but as Anne will tell you, people were not ready in 2019 or even early 2020 for a virtual conference, not the way that we are now, right? Like we've made this huge leap. And in February, March, when all of our other conferences that we had started planning were falling apart and canceling, we were able to quickly pivot, and we brought Leaf 411 into a space that it wasn't before. And now they do quarterly events where they're doing B2C and B2B at the same time.
Wow.
Educating the populace, educating medical professionals, sharing research, sharing product ideas. And from there, it's, you know, product launches, private events, that kind of thing, all virtually. And then our next event is actually our own produced event in person in like 2.5 weeks. And it is called Face It. And we will be doing headshots for women in cannabis here in Denver, and just making sure that it's affordable so that we can really get these women out there and get them professional looks, kind of give them a chance to network and talk about what's really the right way to sell yourself. And yeah, if we stay focused on cannabis and women empowerment, I feel like that is the direction of Cannoccasions.
So we will be sure to drop a link to your event in the comments on the video. Because I think there will probably be some women in that area that want to take you up on that event offer.
I hope so.
And if someone hires you, a cannabis company hires you, what can they expect? What does Cannoccasions do for a company that hires you to produce an event for them?
Okay, so in the simplest terms possible, and I'm never at a loss for words, but let me use few words as possible. We will help you achieve your goals. Every event you host, there's a goal for it. What is your goal what are you doing this for? You know, you just want to get out of the house and have a good time? Okay, fine. Weird goal, but it's a goal. It's whatever the goal is.
Into that though.
So we will help you achieve your goals, and we have the creativity and we have the knowledge so that it will have the sparkle and shine that you want, but we also have the professionalism and the experience to make sure that this runs as smoothly and efficiently as possible. And we've all been on meetings. There's technical issues all the time nowadays with Zoom and things like that. There are technical issues. They oftentimes can't be avoided, but we feel like our proactive approach that events run seamlessly and smoothly. And yes, there are outages we can't control, but for the most part, we've got the experience to manage the event and make it be the experience that producer wants.
So that means you manage the speakers, you manage the venue, you manage the marketing, you manage the sponsors, you manage the ticket sales, you manage the money. You basically can come in and do 100% of the production of the event for a company.
Yes, and we have done that. We find our services are scalable. So we can come in, you give me your topic and I'll take care of it. Or as with most, especially with nonprofit organizations or corporations, they have a marketing department and someone you need to work with. In that case, we could be an extension of your staff. But yes, we are scalable. We can do, 100%, or we can do 10%, or we can do everything in between.
That's impressive. Did you want to add something, Jennifer?
I was just going to say that we tend to fit in where our client needs us, be those missing pieces and those links. Yeah, but and followed it all up at the end. Yeah.
And so who is a typical client for you? Who is the client that you're actually looking for to work with right now?
So we've had many conversations about who our perfect client is. And I think we actually have met them a time or two. But, in the abstract, we want clients who really want to grow and expand and take chances. Every event is, you come in, you have a cup of coffee, you listen to a lecture, you go to lunch, you get done with lunch, you have a lecture. And we love working with clients who want to do something new, different, and kind of avant-garde maybe. And, we are talking to someone who wants to do their kind of marketing camaraderie event as a glamping event. We can do that.
Mm-hmm.
We actually won an award for something like that.
Yes, so we did.
That's kind of the type of client, that we work with. I have a soft spot for nonprofits because the membership tends to be fully committed, like 100% committed. But we've had corporate clients that were just absolutely lovely. So I don't favor anyone in particular, but so like my children, I love them all.
And you work with clients anywhere in the country?
Yes.
Anywhere in the world, thanks to the internet and the platforms that we have. We don't even need to relegate it to the country. It could be anywhere in the world.
Okay, so that opens the door to my next question, which is, what is the future of cannabis events? We all lived through 2020, early 2021, where it was all virtual, and now we're starting to kind of slowly get back to regular conferences. How are you seeing this transition go? Is it working? And what are some things that you expect, we're going to run into this summer and fall as we start to transition? And where do you see events virtually kind of playing in all of this?
Well, I'll take this one if you don't mind. Yeah, so virtual events are definitely here to stay. I think we were already building towards them. People already understood how to get their education through a virtual event, their CEU, or, continuing education credits. So that part is already there. I think what we're also seeing is there's a lot of Zoom fatigue. So people that's the Zoom fatigue, will use that as an excuse to not want to participate in something that they're just not interested in. And I think that is actually the arc we're going to see. So, this meeting could have been an email, is now very well, this event could have been a Zoom. This event could have been recorded and I could have watched it at home, after I put the kids to bed. There's a lot of that. So like Ann said, our dream clients are the ones that want to push the envelope, the ones who are not afraid to bring a magician in for a breakfast meeting. Like, really look for that thing that is going to bring people in and engage them in the conversation that you're having. Ann's other point about, the client really needs to know what their purpose is. If you don't have a purpose and you're just trying to blow money, we got ways to do that. Don't bore people first. If you really want to do something engaging and incredible virtually, you can. Because especially in cannabis, there's a large portion of people who will never go in person to an event. They either physically can't, emotionally can't, or they just don't have the time and the finances to attend an event somewhere else. That being said, cannabis events are going to explode. We're already getting a lot of calls for, how can I put together this event for women in my industry? How can I put this event together for networking or a product launch that really brings 100 people together in a way that feels authentic. So inside cannabis, that is definitely, authenticity is one of those biggest selling points. And so I see that happening, but it is the experiential, and that was always true. There was before we started Cannoccations, I met a woman who had a cannabis event company, and she said, if there is no experience to it, they won't come. It doesn't matter how much free weed you promise them, which is technically illegal, by the way, in Colorado. Can't just give it away. But it doesn't matter. If you don't have something of value for them, it's the same as every other event. Nobody wants to go. Now we have an excuse with virtual events to say, I'm just not going to attend.
Very interesting. I haven't run into that yet, but that's really interesting. Something to keep in mind if you're planning a virtual event coming up, that the hybrid is really going to be the way to go if you're going to capture everyone, correct?
Exactly. Especially sponsors who want that physical ROI. For some reason, they think sending their person, paying their person to go somewhere and do it is going to be a better impact. Not always true. I feel like there's a lot of virtual impact that can happen. That gets a lot longer play. Like once the in-person event is over, it's over. A virtual event, you've got content that you can continue to share and process in different ways.
Very true. Okay, let's talk about what it's like to be a woman in the cannabis industry. So you both come from professional backgrounds that have not necessarily been entirely male dominated, but I believe you did say something about that in the beginning, Jennifer, that you worked in a male dominated space. So what has it been like as a woman transitioning into the cannabis industry? And now that you're here producing events, where is it reflected that we are going to be able to use events to bring change for us as women? And are you seeing a lot of women's focused events focusing on making things better for us? Does that make sense? I know it's a bit of a convoluted question, but it's kind of really just kind of taking a look at, from your perspective, managing events, what it means to be a woman in the industry, and how can we use your part of this experience, being the event production, to make a change for us as women in the industry?
Okay, I'm going to take this one.
Okay.
This is, so, the events planning industry isn't necessarily female dominated or male dominated. It's not, there's a little bit of each. You'll find a lot of women in there. I think the thing that kind of sticks out for me is the unique leadership style and the unique, production style of women. Events have to do a lot of things. We expect a lot of things from them. We expect them to make money. We expect them to provide an experience. We expect them to, build relationships. We expect them to provide knowledge and, lifelong connections and loyalty to an organization. We ask a lot from an event. I mean, we ask it to do a lot. That kind of pretty much just antithesis of what a woman does.
I love that, Ann.
We one little thing and it does a lot. So I feel like women definitely have a place in the events industry. The thing that really excites me about the cannabis industry is because it is so new. Somebody said the wild, wild west. Okay. I like metaphors and I like hyperbole, but it's wide open. There's a lot going on, a lot to be done, and a lot of things that are kind of up in the air. As in, I want to do an event. Well, you can't get insurance for that. That's kind of a big thing. So, there's a lot of opportunities, but with opportunity comes a lot of risk and challenges and willingness to work in the unknown. Again, I just described women. We are in a place that our personalities, and I mean in general, I'm not speaking of every woman, but generally our personality traits are perfect for this industry and for the cannabis industry. So I feel like we have this opportunity and we need to capitalize it, and we need to run with it. And when I say this, I'm reminded every day that I'm getting old, and I have a lot of history that I can relate to all of you. So I'm going to do that, but I'm going to be short. Men have always had the opportunity to network with each other, to mentor each other, to give each other opportunities for, job openings, for capital to start a new venture. Men have had that kind of infrastructure in place. Was it the golf club, the golf league, the Rotary clubs, the moose and elk clubs, the other things, United States Congress, all of those things were men helping men. Now, it was just the way it was back in the day. And so here we are on a new frontier. So ladies, we need to mentor each other. We need to get together and build relationships with each other and help each other grow, so that it is at one point, I'm hoping that when my granddaughter is sitting here talking to your granddaughter, they can say, yeah, we don't know what you're talking about. Everything's fine. But it's just the way it was. And it was the norm. And I've got to tell my bowling league story because it's always a fan favorite. When I first got out of school and was working, I was young and broke, and I worked for a company. So I wanted to start a company bowling league. So I got all the permissions and I got everything set up. I got people volunteering. And I went to the bowling alley and they said, well, that's all fine and dandy, but you can't be president of a bowling league because it has to be a man. It was 1977, by the way, just so you know, it wasn't the 1800s. And here's the surprising part. I said, okay, I'll go find a guy. And I did. I went and found a coworker, nice enough guy. He said, would you come be president? I'll do all the work. You be the president. Again,
sounds so familiar.
Didn't I just?
Yeah, women weren't allowed to have credit cards back then in the late 70s either, were
Couldn't
they?
even have a bank account.
It was extremely difficult. You had to have either your father or your husband sign, their name on the credit card, or their name on the bank account. And I think it was about that same year. I wanted to buy a car. I think I was buying it for one of my sisters, and my grandfather took me to the bank, and it was a banker he knew. He prepped him. They were going to give me the loan. It was going to be in my own name. It was going to help me establish myself. And I still remember looking out the banker's window to my grandfather leaning against his car, and he's patting his checkbook on his shoulder, knowing that if this guy gave me any trouble, he was just going to come in. And I love my grandfather, but man, he had better stuff to do than come rescue me, because it was no one questioned it. It was just how it is. Okay, well, women shouldn't have, it's just the rule. We never questioned it. I didn't question the bowling league. I didn't question the bank loan. We didn't question it. Well, you can't get a credit card. Okay. We never questioned it. And now I hope that my daughters question everything. And that's a double-edged sword, by the way. But that's kind of where we are right now. We are on the precipice. This is a new industry. And I'm talking, cannabis events that's kind of our little section of the industry, but there are women who are in all different areas. And we are on the precipice, and we need to band together and make sure that we have a place in this industry going forward. So it's not a question, and it's not an issue. And the way you do that is you make it the norm. There's an old saying that, when all things are equal, we do business with who we know. And when things aren't equal, we do business with who we know. And so, banding together, making sure that, people have opportunities, they connect to each other. This is something we can do to make sure that women have a leadership role in the cannabis space.
Well, and
Yes.
that is that is one of our founding principles, that we've turned down clients, like men who come to us and want to do something, and their energy is aggressive, and they're not. We had one guy tell us, "Don't post your prices. You're so inexpensive. You're going to run us all out of business." Then he tried to hire us for less than what we were asking for, telling us we were too expensive. And after that meeting, we got off the phone. Anne's like, "I'm telling him no, hell no." I believe there were some more expletives. And the three of us decided we absolutely are not working with people who treat us like that, who degrade the work that we do, who are dismissive of our power, but our experience. And when we say this is what we're worth, I mean, we're not going to jack up our prices because you think that we should, and we're not going to lower our prices because you are devaluing what we have. And so we locked that in, and ever since then, we've only had dream clients. Because we turn away mostly men, but we turn away those who are from the start telling us they're not valuing what we have to bring to the table.
Right. And if you don't share our values, you probably won't appreciate working with us. And, I've always said I've marketed on this principle, but people end up making money when they work with us because we watch the money. We are very careful with that. We negotiate to the very best of our abilities. Jen is absolutely amazing with, squeezing every morsel of food out of every dollar, but it's that expertise, I have a $20 budget. What can you get me for dinner? And she seems to be able to do that. So we are serious business people. We do understand the bottom line, but we also, we work with people who share our values. We don't put people down. We're not rude unless I really, really mean it. But we're generally easy to get along with. And, and people who share our values turn out to be fantastic clients.
Well, let's talk about an aligned value partnership that you have now, because we have a really special announcement, ladies. WEIC has partnered with Cannoccasions to bring you our leadership summit this summer, Power and Collaboration. And this is a great example of collaboration. So I have two questions for you around this. Number one, why did you want to partner and collaborate with Women Empowered in Cannabis? And what about this event made you want to work on this particular event with us?
You want me to go first?
Whoever wants to jump in is fine.
So when Jennifer first brought Women Empowered in Cannabis to our attention, and we looked at those, and I thought, it looked really good. And it seemed like everything was pretty much what we do and how we do this. And then, Kara, I met you, and we clicked. We understand exactly the same thing. Maybe that was a kumbaya moment. I didn't recognize it. I don't know, but I just felt like we aligned in so many places, and that's exactly what we were looking for is clients who are looking at producing a quality event that will make an impact in our industry. And yes, at the end of the day, we intend to make some money from it, and so do you, and so does everybody who's attending. But it isn't our first focus. It isn't our, pay me $1 million, I'll give you what you want. But I was so excited because so many of our goals and objectives were just completely in alignment. And I felt like we could, talk to each other and achieve anything because we had that communication almost immediately. You should have seen the notes from our meeting. I'm like drawing stars and like, this is great. This is what we were looking for, is, people who think like we do. Not everybody does, but, we will happily keep, searching to find our people.
Well, look, Ann, you and I even thought alike today on the color of our shirts.
And your hair's lighter than mine, but it still works for both of us. See, this is what I'm talking about.
Yes. Yes. And, I'll just add that, event production on top of everything else we're trying to do, my team is capable of it, but boy, it's a heavy lift. And Jennifer Axel brought us this incredible opportunity to talk with you ladies. And, I kind of had the same experience, and I met Jennifer before I met you. But I felt like you were the perfect team to work with us. Your values were aligned with us. Your intentions were aligned. Your professionalism, that's something you've mentioned quite a few times here, is also something very, very important to me.
Yeah.
That we all, this may be the cannabis industry and we've got some flexibility like we don't have in other industries. We are dealing with a regulated substance, but we cannot abandon that sense of professionalism so that, we all know what the other person's doing, and the communication and expectations and accountability are set. And then that allows us to just play and have a really good time and really get into what we're doing. So Jennifer, what about power and collaboration, this event that we are working on now? What about this event speaks to you and excites you?
Well, I don't think we've released the speakers yet, so I'm not going to say anything on that. But when you first gave me your temporary schedule, I got so excited because even the women I didn't know, first Google, first listen to like something I find, or first read on what they've written. I am inspired by these women. I can't speak on any of them, but they're amazing. And even before, we had met you, I was in all of the other events that you've put together. And even Women in Plant Medicine, that event, that's what we were talking about. Like, you're giving not just education, not just networking and some, understanding of what the industry is, which is truly important, especially as you're like working your way through it and trying to figure out who the players are and, what's real and what's not, and what companies are real. That's really important to have all that there. But the intentionality of it, the way that women are reaching up to each other. Ann and I were talking about this the other day. So she says to me all the time, we are standing on the shoulders of the women before us. And in our family, it's very matriarchal. It's always been about the women in our family. They're all very highly educated, successful, amazing women who have just blown through and didn't even know there was a ceiling. They just did what the hell they wanted, right? So we are standing on their shoulders. And I know I'm standing on Ann's, and she's just pushing me and pushing me and pushing me. And I am trying to gather as many women as I can to bring them up with me, because not everybody has that woman in their life who is like not trying to pull you up, not like, hey, why don't you come and help me out? But like, you go and you do this, And when I saw the Women in Plant Medicine, when I've seen these speakers that we have coming up talking about these things, their intentionality is very much that. It's, come on, girl, let's go. We're in this together. Like, every one of us. I'm holding onto the rope. You come with me. You come with me. Grab your friends. Everyone is really inclusive. The power aspect, the copy that you've been writing for us, gets me in my heart every time. I have 4 kids. Some identify as women. And all of them feel this internal sense to like, you know, we're hustlers, compete and make some money and kind of like be the best at stuff. But I've never seen them, as I'm reading through your copy, I'm thinking about this myself. Like, I've never seen them give their power away. I can remember in my own mind times that I've done that, especially, like I said, I was a chef before, and I would give my power away all the time just so I could be in the kitchen, just so I could get some sort of like, just to make it, you know, up the ladder. You have to give a little bit of that power away. And I am not doing that anymore. I refuse. And so I feel like this event specifically is speaking to that piece that we all right now are feeling like, I want to get there. I want to climb that mountain, but I'm not giving anybody else any of that power. I'm not going to like share this with them, so maybe they'll let me come along with them. Like, I am taking this for myself. And the collaboration, I feel like that's women empowered in cannabis through and through.
I really appreciate you sharing that, Jennifer. This conversation around power is really, really important to me, because it isn't just a question of my own personal power. It's that we all have to stop giving that away so that we have the power to give to each other and to this industry. And if we're not comfortable with our own power, our own internal sense of power, there's no way we are going to be able to take it. Like you said, I mean, really feel that in your body. What does it feel like to say, I'm going to take power? I'm not going to take power away from somebody else, but there's power out there. There's power it's a confidence level. It's a knowing, it's a depth, it's camaraderie. All of these things that we are doing right now are giving us individually and as a community and as a group, we're giving us power. Now we need to take this to the event platform and really spend the day analyzing power. How do we give it away? I mean, seriously, ladies, why did we go from 37% of C-suite positions were women to 25, 24? Only 8% of women in the industry, or of CEOs in the industry, are women. What happened? How did this happen? And how do we prevent more loss? And how do we make up for it? Because that means we've got to go grab that power. So ladies, these are all the things that we're going to be discussing at this event. And I am so excited. And you're right, the speakers even give me goosebumps. And the fact that I know now I have this incredible team of women who are working side by side with us to make sure this event is seamless, a true experience, and something that feels good for the speakers and for the attendees. I can't thank you enough for being willing to step up and partner with us on this. This is going to be your support of what we're doing here. Your partnership means that we can actually deliver. And I'm so grateful to both of you for stepping up and being willing to do this with us.
We're very, very excited to be part of this. This is a true dream client that all of the same goals and aspirations. And so we are very, very excited.
Well, thank you so much. And I cannot wait to go to the event and see what we've created. I'm really excited about this experience. And I'm so excited about continuing to work with Cannoccasions. And ladies, if you have ever been to our events in the past, you know that we put a lot of love and attention into the subjects that we discuss and the speakers that we choose. And so if you have been to something in the past, you definitely want to make it to this one, because it's going to be 10x the kind of experience it was before, because we have these incredible women helping us to produce this event. So thank you so much, ladies, for joining us today. Thank you for sharing your journey with us. And ladies, thank you for tuning in. If you haven't yet joined the Women Empowered in Cannabis community, go to our brand new membership portal at womenempoweredIncannabis.com. There you'll find lots of information on our new memberships for women working in cannabis. You can also find us on Clubhouse as WEIC, where we host AMA rooms with investors and recruiters and monthly open mics to introduce yourself to the community. WEIC is a community that provides resources, connections, events, and content to women working in cannabis in the US, Canada, and around the world where there's an interest in cannabis legalization. We welcome women who are currently working in cannabis or curious about taking a leap into the industry. Consider becoming a supporting member or supporting business for benefits and access across the network. And join us again for another conversation with smart women in cannabis. And if you've enjoyed this interview, make sure that you join us for our virtual leadership event, Power and Collaboration, on July 21st. Tickets are available at Event High. Thank you again, ladies, and we'll see you all soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.